can't believe it. I've been deceived. What am I supposed to do now?
In front of me, crying like a child, is my husband's steward. Embarrassingly enough, I watched him with a cold gaze as a nurse approached us angrily from the other side. I could guess what she was about to say. Probably, "Please be quiet. After all, we are in a hospital." I just can't keep up with this foolish husband's stupidity anymore. To the sobbing steward, I said in a low voice, "That's right. Maybe it's time for a divorce, don't you think?" My name is Carolyn, a 29-year-old office worker. There is a common remark I hear from people I meet for the first time. "You're so cool." I am 5 feet, 7 inches tall, quite tall for a woman. And these narrow eyes of mine back in school led to whispers of, "Are you angry or you're kind of scary?" All I was doing was spacing out, thinking, "What should I have for dinner tonight? I want fried chicken." So being judged just by my looks was a bit saddening. Luckily, I have been blessed with friends and we still get together for meals occasionally. There's one secret not even my old friends know about me. So cute. Is this a new one? I'm going to complete the whole set. Despite my appearance, I love cute things. When I find a capsule toy of my favorite character, I can't help but get one. If someone I know saw me like this, I would be bedridden for 3 days. As I was thinking this, happily turning the capsule vending toys.
Huh? Carolyn?
Startled, I jerked around hearing my name. Tentatively looking back, I saw a familiar voice. "Stewart, what are you doing here?" It was Stewart, a junior colleague from my office. "It's over. Yep, my office life is over. I'll sign up for hunting sites when I get home." These thoughts kept running through my head. Frozen, I was startled when he said,
Wow, this is cute. My sister loved this character. And collects a lot too.
"Uh-huh?" I let out a silly voice, surprised by his unexpected response. "Aren't you shocked? The Ice Queen from the office having such a fairy tale-like hobby? Doesn't it freak you out?" To my self-deprecating remark,
Why would it? If you like it, that's all that matters,"
he replied, laughing innocently. I found myself unexpectedly charmed by his smile. From that day, I found myself watching this junior colleague whom I had never thought much of before. My colleague's attitudes towards me hadn't changed, so it seems Stewart hadn't spread the word about what he saw. We got closer at a drinking party, and years later, I never imagined this junior would become my husband. "Stewart, get up! You're going to be late!" With a sleepy voice, he replied,
Just 5 more minutes."
Waking him up has become my daily routine while having breakfast together.
By the way, Christy said she wants to come over again. That's fine, right?
My husband Stewart asked me, looking pleased. On the contrary, I couldn't help but frown. Christy, Stewart's sister, is 6 years younger than me. I've seen people with mother complexes and father complexes, but after marrying Stewart, I encountered someone with a sister complex and brother complex for the first time. "Stewart getting married is awful. I will never accept someone like her." At a family dinner, which was also a family meeting, with Stewart's family, I felt like I was about to break because of his intense sister. Stewart's parents then said to her, "Christy, you're old enough. It's time to stop clinging to your brother." As I watched Stewart's father, Elliot, and Christy argue, and I was getting uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, Carolyn." Stewart's mother, Isabella, spoke to me in a kind voice. Both of Stewart's parents worked, and it seems Stewart and Christy felt lonely when they were young because of it. I'm an only child, so I don't fully understand, but I thought to myself, is this what siblings love is? However, even after getting married, Christie's antics didn't stop and later escalated into an unbelievable situation. Stewart, I came to visit. Oh, Carolyn, you're here too? Like this, she began visiting our newlywed home almost every weekend. It wouldn't bother me if she just came to visit, but Christy completely ignored me. Stewart, I want this, please. Her whining to her realtor made me feel slightly sick. And Stewart, he found Christy just too cute and completely spoiled her. Right after we got married, Stewart secretly bought her a $200 stuffed toy, which I found out about later. That's when I decided to put him on an allowance in anger. Despite telling Christy this, she shamelessly continued to ask Stewart for things I already disliked and couldn't stand her. It seemed the feeling was mutual. Whenever Stewart apologetically said no to Christy, she glared at me and I glared back with my sharp eyes. It seemed to scare her a bit, and I honestly felt a bit satisfied seeing her slightly frightened face. But then, a few months later, Christy did something unforgivable. While cleaning my room, I felt something was off. Even after marriage, I continued collecting items within my allowance. But I noticed several things were missing. Moreover, they were limited editions, not available in stores and sold for high prices online. It wasn't about the price. They were my treasures, my emotional anchors. Losing them was shocking enough. It's definitely her. She's the culprit. The next day, as usual, Christy came to visit. Hey Christy, don't you have something to say to me? As I glared at her, Stewart quickly said,
See, that's why you two can't get along, because Caroline scares you.
What a foolish thing to say. The day before, I had talked to Stewart. Hey, I think Christy is taking my collectibles? To my words, Stewart started laughing. What's funny about that? I wondered.
Christy wouldn't do that. Did you search? Well, maybe you just think that way because you dislike her?
Such a ridiculous thing to say. Doesn't Stewart even consider doubting his sister? Talking to this man is pointless. I simply felt that. Christy, have you been touching my things and taking them home? I don't know anything about that, Caroline. That's mean of you. Christy faked crying and Stewart comforted her, asking if she was okay. What am I even witnessing? In front of this situation, I already started regretting marrying Stewart. It's easy to see through fake crying, but my foolish husband always gets to see it like this. With a sigh, I blurted out one sentence. Then let's call the police. If you don't know anything, it must mean a burglar broke in, right? As I said that, I took out my mobile phone. Then, what do you know? The very Christy who had been fake sobbing until just now. What? The police? Are you serious? Are you crazy? Where did her usual cutesy act go? I almost laughed, but her reaction made it clear she was guilty. Why are you panicking so much? Do you have a problem with the police being called? At my words, Christy went completely silent. Even Stewart seemed to realize something was off, looking at Christy with an indescribable expression. It was, yes, I can't hear you. I was so irritated with Christy's quiet voice that I couldn't help but raise my voice. I sold them. Her words made me feel dizzy. Some of the items were brought by me, but others were gifts from my parents who knew how much I loved them. Every one of them had sentimental value to me. That weekend, a discussion was held at my in-laws' house involving father-in-law Elliot and mother-in-law Isabella. I had briefly explained the situation, so Elliot and Isabella were already glaring at Christy with anger. Moreover, it was revealed that Christy, who still lived at home, had been lying about going out with friends every weekend and had been coming to our house instead. She said she did it because she thought Elliot and Isabella would be annoyed if she told them the truth. If you thought so, then don't come in the first place. That's what I felt.
What have you done?
Elliot was furious. Then Christy said something unbelievable. "It's not my fault. Stuart always did everything I asked before we got married. He bought me anything I wanted." The person in front of me might as well have been an alien. That's how incomprehensible her words were to me. That's enough. Just compensate me for what you sold. And if this kind of relationship is going to continue, I can't live with Stuart anymore, I said, looking straight at Elliot and Isabella. Stuart was shocked to hear that, obviously not expecting such words. "Really? How can you make that face in this situation? Are you okay in the head?" That's what I thought, as the situation was definitely a reason for a divorce. Since dating Stuart, I knew he was close to Christy. I had dates cancelled because
My sister seems sick. I'm going to visit home.
he would say. I could only wish her well, and until that dinner, I had never met Christy. Continuing this marriage after such a sad experience was unthinkable for me. I had to laugh at the fact that we had been married for only about half a year. I didn't go to the police out of consideration for Stuart's and Elliot's and Isabella's apologies. Eventually, Christy was completely cut off by Elliot and Isabella. They agreed to pay for what she sold in exchange for severing ties with her. Stuart, as usual, "Stuart, help me, convince Stuart." She came crying to him. But the revelation that Christy, whom he adored, had been stealing seemed to shock Stuart greatly, and he also chose to cut ties with her. Since then, I have moved back to my parents' house, living separately from Stuart. My parents said to me, "Carolyn, we support whatever path you choose, but no matter the outcome, we are here to support you." Feeling both happy and pitiful at the same time, I faced a reality I couldn't escape from. I had to see Stuart at work every day. At time, I interacted with Stuart as usual. Only after this mess did I start to regret our office romance. I'd only told a few close colleagues about our separation. My closest colleague, Sally, wasn't doing well with her husband either, and we often went out for dinner after work, venting about our husbands. "But maybe you'll get divorced. But it seems like Stuart is remorseful and he cut ties with his sister, right? Why not try talking again?" Sally said with a kind smile. Stuart had been sending me apologies ever since that day. The incident with my belongings being sold hurt me deeply, but Christy did it behind Stuart's back, and he hadn't known about it. The reason I couldn't decide on divorce right away was that I still had feelings for Stuart. "Hello, Stuart." After that, we talked and decided to give it another shot, promising never to involve Christy again. Life without Christy around was considerably more peaceful. The night before our days off, Stuart and I would rent DVDs and watch movies late into the night. On our days off, we went for trips, had slightly expensive lunches, and enjoyed beautiful scenery. I felt like we were finally living a married life. Despite my dad's choosing to rebuild our relationship, didn't seem like a mistake. Little did I know that this would turn out to be a huge mistake, which I would regretfully realize later. About a year into this new life, Stuart started acting suspiciously. "Lately, you've been coming home late, haven't you? You're not working overtime, so where are you going, Stuart?"
A friend's in trouble, and we're trying to help him out."
Stuart's hesitant words clearly sounded like lies. He used to leave work with me, but recently he's been telling me to go home first. I thought maybe overtime, but he didn't seem busy and he was late every day. After sister complex, now cheating? How much more can I be underestimated? I had endured a lot, but it seemed I wasn't patient enough to keep trusting Stuart. I vowed to deal with this thoroughly. Then one day, after about 2 weeks of this, I was struck by such severe stomach pain I couldn't get up. Noticing my distress,
Carolyn, what's wrong? Did you eat too much?"
Stuart asked. Talking to him only made my stomach hurt more. I'm fine, just go to work, I managed to say to Stewart.
I'll be late tonight too, because of that friend. I'll be going now.
Even in front of his suffering wife, he blatantly declared his cheating intentions. The pain was so severe, I considered calling an ambulance, but after lying down for a while, it eased. I called in sick at work and headed to the hospital.
You have acute gastritis. We would like to run some tests, so please stay overnight. You can go home tomorrow.
The doctor said indifferently. Holding my aching stomach, I responded with a weak, "Okay." I tried calling Stewart to inform him, but he didn't answer. After several attempts, he abruptly said,
"What? I'm busy and can't talk right now. I'm driving, so I'm hanging up."
He hung up one-sidedly. As I wondered what was wrong with him, a man nearly knocked me over as he sped past. That was close. Huh? What? I couldn't hide my surprise at the person. Eventually, I simply messaged Stewart. "Staying at a friend's, will be back tomorrow," and returned home the next day as if nothing had happened. Fortunately, there were no other issues with my health. It was gastritis caused by stress. I was reminded of how the body can be honest even in times like this. A few days later, I went to a certain place. After a short wait, a man and a woman chatting amiably walked towards me. The man seemed to notice me and had an awkward look on his face.
Carolyn? Why are you here?"
In front of me was my husband Stewart, and next to Stewart, "Are you here to bother us again, Carolyn?" Christy speaking to me with a smug look. That day at the hospital, I saw Stewart talking to a nurse who said, "Your sister's baby is about to be born." In Christy's arm was a sleeping, adorable baby. Ignoring Christy, I questioned Stewart. "Weren't you supposed to have cut ties with her?" To my question,
"It's not what it looks like. Please listen. Christy is a poor girl."
According to Stewart, Christy had changed her ways and was working a part-time job since then, but she suffered from harassment at work and met a man with whom she had a child.
"But he died in a traffic accident not long ago. Poor Christy."
I listened to this sob story coldly, knowing it was all lies from Christy, who could lie as easily as breathing. Then Stewart suggested something unbelievable.
"So, Carolyn, Christy can't rely on our parents, right? Let's live together and raise this child as a family of 3.
He wanted me to support Christy? My foolish husband said this with a straight face, while Christy smirked at his words. "No way! Are you kidding me?" I shouted, only to be outshouted.
"Christy, you foolish girl, you're doing it again. Enough is enough."
Elliot walked in yelling, followed by Isabella, and relatives I had only met at the wedding. Of course, I had called them. Apparently, they had all grudges against Christy, who had conned them into lending her money she never intended to pay. Of course, Christy had no intention of paying the money back.
"No, Dad, Christy is in a tough spot right now. Let's not be stubborn and forgive her."
Stewart said such things. To Stewart, I told the story. Sally's husband registered on a dating app out of curiosity. At my sudden change of topic, Stewart, irritated, said,
"That's not relevant now. Have you lost your mind? I know him. He's a friend. He got stalked by a crazy woman, right?"
Sally's husband, also a colleague, had registered on a dating app on a whim. He connected with a woman and agreed to meet her. Her photos were cute, but at the meeting spot stood a woman who looked nothing like them, more like a female wrestler. He couldn't escape, had one meal with her, and then blocked her. Months later, this woman appeared in front of Sally and her husband. "I'm pregnant with your child. Take responsibility." Yelling. What followed was a scene. Seeing Sally, the woman said, "With that unattractive face, no wonder your husband cheated. Why don't you divorce?" Knowing he was married, Sally could only think This woman was crazy. Eventually, Sally and her husband divorced.
There are some crazy women out there. I would like to see her face,
Stuart said, nodding. I couldn't help but laugh. Oh, she's right there, next to you. Perhaps realizing from the flow of the conversation, Christy was glaring at me with an incredible expression.
Oh, you mean?
Stuart looked pale next to her. Realizing he had been deceived by Christy, Stuart collapsed to his knee. Christy looked at him, clicked her tongue, and said, Stuart is as useless as ever, controlled by a woman who's not even that pretty. Ridiculous. To which I responded, ever looked in a mirror? Want me to lend you one? I taunted Christy with a sneer. I'm cute though. She interpreted things in her favor and started crying, demanding an apology from me. Not wanting to talk any longer with this insane woman, I was about to leave when the usually quiet Isabella said, You foolish girl, you troubled so many people. Apologize right now. The in-laws were shocked and Christy cried even harder. After that, Christy was forcibly taken back to her parents' house by the relatives. Left behind were just Stuart and me in silence.
So, I was deceived? What am I supposed to do now?
Stuart started crying like a child and a nurse scolded him to be quiet. Why did he always believe Christy over me? I felt maybe Stuart never really saw me as family. I cursed myself for choosing to rebuild our marriage, but that's all over now. Maybe it's time for a divorce, right? I said quietly to Stuart and left him crying in the hospital. After our divorce, we inevitably had to see each other at work. It bothered me until Stuart was chosen for a transfer to a remote branch. No one wanted to go there, and Stuart had been a candidate for a while due to his prior performance. He volunteered for the transfer after our divorce. Stuart probably enjoyed being needed by Christy but went too far, learning that Christy had always ridiculed him. He finally woke up, but it was too late. Let him regret it. As for Christy, she genuinely cares for her child, and under the strict watch of ex-Elliot and Isabella and their relatives, she focused on parenting. Once the child rearing settles, she'll work at a relative shop to repay her debts. The child's father is supposedly someone she met on an app. I can't help but feel sorry for the ex-Elliot and Isabella, who are too soft on their daughter, but the child is innocent. I hope the child grows up healthy. They're no longer my concern. Please feel free to do the rest. After the divorce, my colleagues treated me like a fragile object, the same as Sally, so we both quit. We boldly started an online shop selling cute goods, which hit off surprisingly well. Last month, I earned more than my corporate salary, and we're hiring another staff next month. Reconnecting with old friends over dinner, they asked, Why did you ever hide your love for cute things we all knew since school days? My friend looked at me with strange looks, and my face turned bright red. I vowed to be a woman who openly loves what she loves without hiding or lacking confidence.